Now we'll take a look at schedules. Schedules are very powerful and can do things like cost estimating, using formulas to multiply a tax rate times quantity times cost per item. It can also do occupancy load calculations based on the square footage of a room and a occupant per square foot code requirement. In this example, we're going to look at creating a room schedule and a door schedule. Before we create a room schedule, we're going to want to add rooms to the model. Right now we have spaces, but we don't physically have a room element within those spaces. These are placed similar to ceilings in that they automatically find the boundary of the space in which you click. So we select the room command. We typically want to make sure that tag on placement is activated. And we see the room name and number is a tag, and that's a separate component from the room element that's actually being added. Go up to level 2 and have to start the room command again. We can add rooms and we see the tag can be aligned with the adjacent tag. Now if I were to click here, the room would go out over the floor opening. So we're going to hit modify to cancel that. And then we're going to use the room separation tool that's found there on the architectural tab. This is almost like drawing a wall, except it's just a single line and it can be hidden by going into VV and then the generic lines category. Take a look at that real quick. Or actually, I guess it's just the lines category, and then we can turn off room separation. So now we can select the room command and add a room with a tag. We wouldn't want to add a room to the mechanical chase. Once we have the rooms and the room tags added, we can select a room tag and notice that there's some different types available. So I can actually have a room tag that lists the square footage. This is great early in the design process. If we want to change all the tags to have the area, we select one, right click, go to select all instances. We could either do it for this view or the entire project. So let's say we know we want all the room tags in the entire project to show the area. Well, we see in this drop-down list here that there's 6 room tags selected, and the one that we previously changed is not selected because it wasn't the same type as this one. So there's only 3 in this view that are selected. That means that there must be 3 on level 1 that are also selected. So this drop-down list is handy for that reason. Now we can switch it to the area, and then at any time, if the size of the room changes, we see that the square footage changes. I'll go ahead and undo that. So now that we have rooms added, doesn't matter if the room tags were there or not, but we have to have rooms. Now we can create a room schedule. So from the View tab, we'll go to Schedules and then Schedule/Quantities. And now we have to specify which type of schedule we want to create, or which category within the Revit model we want to create a schedule for. The default name is just going to be room schedule. We could leave it like that and change it later. We'll go ahead and just change it to room finish schedule. We want to make sure the phase is set properly, so new construction. Select OK, and now we get a list of all the fields that are available. These are parameters that we see when we select a room over here in the Properties palette or in Edit Type. So we typically want the room name, the room number. Maybe we want the level. The base finish or the wall base. The ceiling. Maybe we even want the area. Some of these can be removed later once we get to construction documents. So at this point, without doing anything else, we'll just click OK and see what we get. We see that we have information showing up in some. The rooms obviously have an area associated with them. They're on a level, and by default they get a generic name called room name and a generic number based on the order in which we place them. If we click this edit button over here next to fields, we can readjust these. Usually you'd have the room number show up first. So now that moved into place. If we go back to our level 1 floor plan, we can select this tag and then click on the room name to be able to change the name of the room. Now this can be done in the schedule as well. We'll call this lobby. And we see in the project browser under the schedules category we have a room finish schedule showing up. So now we see the 2 rooms that we just renamed are showing up here. We could also, as I mentioned, change the name here. I know that there's only one extra room on level 1, so this must be the room that I'm editing. So we can see the loading dock changed. In this case, all the rooms happen to be sorting by the number properly because that's the order I placed them. Sometimes you'll run into problems though where rooms don't sort properly. Like this might be room 103, and you can see that room number didn't change. Maybe this is just to make them out of order. 104 and 105. So if we go to the sorting and grouping and select edit, we can have Revit sort those rooms by room number. So now they're sorting properly based on the room number. A couple other things we can do is sort by level and then by number. We can have a header and a blank line so that we have different groupings for the floors on each level in the building. And now that we're sorting by level, we probably don't want to see this redundant column here of this redundant information which is showing up in the level column. So we go back into the properties for the schedule, and by the way, all of these edit buttons open the same dialog box. It just goes to a different tab. So we need to have, back here in the Fields tab, we absolutely have to have levels listed here to be able to use it as something to sort by. But we can go to this Formatting tab and say that level should be hidden as a column. Now we don't have that redundant information, and we're still sorting and grouping by level. Next, we'll create a door schedule. This is a fairly similar process. We already have doors in the model, so we can just go ahead and schedule those right now. We're going to go to the View tab, Schedules and Quantities, and then we're going to go down to the Doors category. Door schedule will be the name. Click OK. We want the mark, which is actually going to be the door number. You probably want the width and the height of the door. We can add other things like the fire rating. We can even switch it down here to the room to or the room from. Maybe we want to know which room the door swings into. So the room number that the door swings into. This can be a little tricky when the door swings outside the building and there's no number there. It'll just be blank. But let's go ahead and hit OK. And now we can see what room the door swings into. We can see the door number and the door sizes. One thing to note is that you cannot print a schedule unless it's on a sheet. However, another option is to export the schedule to an Excel file. So if we go to Export from the Application menu, and then Reports, and then schedule. We can save this to a text file that can then be opened and read as a comma delimited file by Excel. So that's a brief introduction to using schedules in Revit.